In the spring of 1900, a crew of sponge divers plunged 45 meters beneath the surface of the Aegean Sea. Down in those pitch-black, treacherous waters, they found a haunting graveyard of marble statues and ancient pottery scattered across a Roman shipwreck. Amidst the ruins, they hauled up a heavily corroded, calcified green lump of bronze and wood. It looked like a ruined piece of debris from a forgotten voyage. But locked inside that rotting mass was an artifact so mathematically perfect that its mere existence seemed chronologically impossible. We tend to view history as a straight, unbroken line of progress, a steady, predictable march from primitive tools to modern engineering. To understand how a functioning analog computer could exist 2,000 years ago, we have to look past that linear timeline. We have to travel back to a lost golden age of engineering to see the minds that actually possessed the genius to build it. In the 3rd century before the Common Era, the intellectual capital of the Mediterranean was the city of Alexandria. Under royal patronage, brilliant minds gathered at a massive, state-funded research institution known as the Malseum. Here, an inventor named Ctesibius, and later his successor Heron, laid the foundational laws of pneumatics and hydraulics. They treated air not as empty space, but as a physical, elastic medium that could be compressed to transmit massive amounts of force. Heron used these principles to engineer illusions that left witnessing crowds convinced they were watching a miracle. Imagine a priest lighting a fire on a sacred temple altar. Suddenly, without a single human hand touching them, the massive wooden doors swing open. This diagram shows the hidden pneumatic system Heron designed beneath the stone floor. The heat from the altar fire built up air pressure in a sealed subterranean vessel. That pressure forced water through a pipe and into a heavy bucket suspended from the ceiling. As the bucket filled, its growing weight pulled on a system of ropes and pulleys, dragging the doors open. Heron's workshop was filled with automated wonders, but his most radical invention was the Aeola pile. By boiling water in a cauldron, steam was pushed up through supporting tubes into a hollow bronze sphere. The steam vented violently from 2 bent nozzles, spinning the sphere on its pivots at 1,500 revolutions per minute. This device harnessed the exact thermodynamic principles that would fuel the Industrial Revolution nearly 2 millennia later. Yet, in antiquity, a society reliant on abundant slave labor had no economic need to scale up this technology. Coupled with the metallurgical limits of the time, the world's first steam turbine remained a temple curiosity, a novelty designed to entertain the masses. While steam power remained a toy, other ancient inventors weaponized their genius for state survival. During the Second Punic War, the Roman Republic launched a massive naval assault to besiege the Sicilian city-state of Syracuse. The Roman fleet expected a swift victory. Instead, they faced the defensive wrath of Archimedes, the legendary mathematician and engineer. Looming over the city walls were massive, crane-like mechanical arms equipped with giant grappling hooks. This was the claw of Archimedes. The arms swung out over the sea, hooked the approaching Roman warships, and physically lifted them out of the water. Suspended in midair, the vessels were violently shaken and dropped, capsizing the crews into the sea. Archimedes also supposedly arranged highly polished bronze mirrors to focus concentrated sunlight onto the wooden hulls of enemy ships, igniting their sails from hundreds of feet away. While historically debated, a team of MIT researchers recently tested the solar heat ray theory and proved the mathematical principles behind his optical weapons are entirely sound. Look closely at this schematic of a repeating catapult designed by Greek engineers. It functioned as the ancient world's machine gun. By turning a single hand crank, this complex internal chain drive and cam system loaded a bolt, cocked the bow, and fired it in one continuous automatic motion. Ancient engineering was highly advanced, practical science. It could be deployed to produce severe psychological terror and massive physical destruction. Perhaps the most terrifying application of ancient science arrived in the 7th century with the development of Greek fire. Projected through pressurized bronze tubes mounted on Byzantine warships, this devastating incendiary liquid acted as a liquid napalm. Once ignited, it could not be extinguished, and it actually burned even more fiercely when it made contact with water. The formula was the Byzantine Empire's ultimate naval weapon, and they protected it with an extreme system of compartmentalization to keep rival powers from stealing the technology. The labor was divided so severely that the chemists mixing the ingredients had no idea how the pressurized mechanical siphons worked, and the technicians operating the projectors didn't know the chemical formula. The strategy kept the weapon secure, but it also meant that when the empire eventually fell, the secret of Greek fire was lost with it. By deliberately fracturing the knowledge, the Byzantine state ensured that no single person remained who understood how the entire system functioned. History is not a straight, unbroken line of progress. It is a fragile chain of transmission that can easily snap. During the Dark Ages following the fall of the Roman Empire, populations plummeted and the division of labor vanished. The secret of pozzolana cement, a Roman concrete that could cure underwater and last for millennia, disappeared. Architectural and engineering knowledge decayed so thoroughly that generations lived among grand, ruined structures they could no longer understand or replicate. By the 15th century, the citizens of Rome drank from the polluted Tiber River, ignorant of the massive, ruined aqueducts towering over their heads. Humanity entered a deep technological regress. It proved that a society can completely forget the foundational technologies that built it. Which brings us back to that mysterious calcified lump recovered from the Antikythera shipwreck. For decades, it sat inside the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, largely ignored. But as the bronze dried out, it began to split open, revealing the unmistakable teeth of gear wheels. Decades later, advanced CT scans peered deep inside the fragments. Packed inside a wooden frame no larger than a shoebox were 37 interlocking bronze gears, some with teeth smaller than those in a mechanical watch. This diagram isolates a pin and slot epicyclic gear system. The ancient Greeks knew the moon's orbit is an ellipse that speeds up and slows down. To model this irregular motion mechanically, creators engineered these interconnected gears to exactly simulate that variable speed. This level of mathematical and mechanical genius vanished from the historical record. A device this complex would not emerge again until the construction of European cathedral clocks 1,400 years later. The ruins of these ancient technologies remind us that progress is never guaranteed. If this single fragile computer had not been lost to the deep, where would humanity be today?